Welcome my dear students in today's session on paper 5, that is entrepreneurship development, and the focus for today's session will be on motivation and entrepreneurship. So what exactly we are going to see today is we'll try and look at the concept of motivation. We'll try and see how probably different theories of motivation has contributed to entrepreneurship. We'll look at the concept of organization culture, and finally we'll try and have a look at what exactly we mean by values. So let's start with motivation. So when we talk about motivation, what exactly we mean by motivation and how is it connected in the context of entrepreneurship? Now, motivation is a willingness to exert high level of effort towards organizational goals, conditioned by the effort and ability to satisfy some individual needs. To make it simple, my dear students, we say that it derived from a Latin word. And I think what is the meaning of that Latin word? It is saying that it needs to have some kind of a urge, it needs to have some kind of a drive. So it is a spirit of the people which is ignited by something, such as a message, an appeal, and so on. So when we talk about motivation, I think the most important thing for us is to understand that as an entrepreneur, there should be an urge from within. There should be a drive which will try and take us forward, which will try and push us against all odds. So when we talk about motivation, we'll try and have a look into the literature. We'll try and see how exactly the concepts have come of age. So we start off with the first one, which is called the XY theory of McGregor. What exactly is the concept of theory X and theory Y? When you go to theory Y, actually it talks about some kind of a authoritarian theory. There should be some kind of a tight control to development. It talks about some kind of a people who dislike their work. On the other hand, if we look at theory Y, the assumptions are very, very important. They say that people enjoy work. So if you give them responsibility, they will perform better. So this is what exactly we are finding in today's industry and today's organization. So the next important contribution in the field of motivation happens to be by Maslow's need hierarchy theory. Now what do we mean by need hierarchy? If you talk about any human being, there are some kind of a needs which are there among us. Now, and those needs, Maslow pointed out that it should be in the form of a hierarchy. The first one, he talked about the basic needs, which is at the bottom of the hierarchy. And it talks about the need for food, water, some kind of a rest, shelter, and all those things. So these he has coined as something called physiological needs. Now, once these needs are satisfied, a human being will try and somehow go ahead and try and satisfy some higher order need. The next important stage is called the safety needs. It talks about some kind of a security, it talks about some kind of a safety. Once the second order needs are satisfied, a human being will try and go and look for belongingness and some kind of a love, affection and all. So that is what we are talking about, need for some kind of a affiliation. We talk about some kind of a relationship, we talk about friendship and all those things. After that has been somehow satisfied, you will go and try and achieve the next higher order need, which is called self-esteem needs. So what exactly is the concept? You look for some kind of a position, you look for some kind of a esteem, some kind of a people will try and recognize you. And finally, we talk about self-fulfillment, we talk about self-actualization. So when we talk about self-actualization, it is basically the higher order need according to Maslow. So once you start off with the very basic need, you go on satisfying the need one after the other, and eventually you reach a stage where you have to have some kind of a self-actualization. Try and connect in the context of an entrepreneur. What exactly is the urge? This is, I think, we need to understand that why we are thinking of trying to start something on our own. Why exactly we are trying to give shape to our dream? Because there is some kind of a need for self-actualization. You talk about some kind of a recognition. There is some kind of a people should take note of you. So you try and identify what exactly is the need that is trying to give you some kind of a entrepreneurship ideas. So when we talk about this, the lower order needs basically talks about physiological needs and safety needs, and the higher order needs talks about social needs, self-esteem needs, and self-actualization. So when we talk about Maslow's need hierarchy theory, my dear students, the lower order needs are satisfied externally. However, when we go higher up in the order, these are satisfied internally. So you are now in a position to judge what exactly are the needs which is motivating you to try and come up with entrepreneurship. So it should be noted that these distinctions are not always applicable. So according to situation, place and time, Maslow's theory of motivation is adaptable. It is not very rigid, my dear students. We come to the next important thing, that is called the need theory. When we talk about this, we talk about achievement, niche achievement theory. So according to this theory, there are three broad categories. The first one is called need for achievement. The second one is called need for power. And the third one is called need for affiliation. Around us, we will find people who are having this need. The first one is called need for achievement. There are a lot of people who will try and go for this. They will try and achieve something. The second order is called need for power. There are a lot of people who will look for power, positions, and all, whether it's in the organization or somewhere else. There are a lot of people who look for the third one, which is called need for affiliation. Some kind of a friendship, some kind of a relationship are more important and precious to them. The first one is individualistic, that is the need for achievement in nature, whereas the other two, when we talk about the need for power and need for affiliation, are interpersonally oriented. So these happens to be a very, very important theory of motivation in the context of entrepreneurship development in 21st century, the need achievement theory. So please remember the need achievement theory, where we come across three important kinds of need. The first one is need for achievement, the second one is need for power, and the third one is need for affiliation. So we move on, we go to Herzberg's dual factor theory. So he categorized two things. He explained that attitude of employees towards their job under extremely good or bad conditions, pointing them out as job satisfaction or dissatisfaction. There are three levels. First one is called satisfaction, the second one is called neutral, and the third one is called dissatisfaction. If hygiene factors are present adequately, employees will be neither dissatisfied nor satisfied. What does it mean? In the industry, in your organization, you think these are factors which will neither the employees will be satisfied nor they will be dissatisfied. These are called hygiene factors. They will achieve a neutral state of peace and favorable thinking, which is essential for motivating them. So according to Herzberg, I think the hygiene factor is this. So when we move on, I think we'll try and identify there are certain factors which are called hygiene factors. So what are those hygiene factors? We are talking about salary and pay. We talk about working conditions. We talk about job security and safety. Think from the point of view of an industry, from a business point of view, interpersonal relationship among the employees in any organization. So these happens to be hygiene factors. But on the other hand, if we talk about motivating factors, and mostly these factors happen to be intrinsic. What are those? First and foremost is recognition of your job, recognition of your work. The second one is a sense of achievement. If you have done something commendable, if you have done something important in the organization, that will act as a motivator. You talk about giving responsibility to people. According to Herzberg, that happens to be a motivating factor. You talk about some kind of a career growth. You talk about self-esteem. And you talk about some kind of advancement and self-fulfillment. So these are all factors which are very, very important and which, according to the dual factor theory of Herzberg, happens to be motivating factors. So my dear students, we come to the next one, which is called a contemporary theory of motivation. The expectancy theory, one of the most widely accepted theories of employee motivation, was developed by Victor Vroom, and it was in the year 1964. Now, what exactly is the concept of expectancy theory? Now, expectancy theory is based on the premise that a person will be motivated to put forth a higher level of effort if he believes their effort will result in higher performance and thus better reward. Now means what? To make it simple, you are putting in effort keeping some kind of an end in mind, and if in the end you are getting rewarded, then chances are that you are going to put in better effort. So that is what expectancy theory talks about. So expectancy theory refers to the level of effort that an employee is willing to exert in hopes that the increased effort will result in better performance. An employee is willing to work towards this higher level of performance because of the perceived correlation between performance and reward. So you are trying to expect that if I perform well, then probably I'll be rewarded. And this happens many a times in the industry. The employees actually try and put in their best with the expectation and hope that their performance will be recognized and they will be rewarded. Finally, an assessment must also be made as to how valuable the employee finds the reward to be. Now the company might think this might work as an excellent reward for my employees, but the employees don't agree. So then there is a cause of concern. So I think expectancy theory simply says that it is the reward that you are expecting, and then you try and put in the performance with the hope that yes, if I do something well, I'll be rewarded. So that is what expectancy theory talks about. The reward therefore has to be something which the employee finds value. I quote once again, the reward must be something which the employees think is valuable to them, making the effort worth the perceived worth of the reward. Then only they will be interested in putting that effort. For many employees, the prospect of a promotion is a reward that is highly valuable and worth all of the effort that one should need to make in order to earn it. So in the industry also you'll see there are a lot of people who put in extra effort. They go beyond the call of the duty hours and try and contribute to the organizational cause with the expectation that their recognition, the performance will be recognized and they will definitely considered for promotion. So when we talk about another important model, I think Porter and Lawler, they used Victor Vroom's expectancy theory as a foundation to develop their expectancy model. Similar to Vroom's theory, Porter and Lawler concluded that an individual's motivation to complete a task is affected by the reward they expect to receive for completing the task. However, Porter and Lawler introduced additional aspect to the expectancy theory. So when we talk about this, we need to understand there are two concepts. One is called intrinsic, the other one is called extrinsic reward. So Porter and Lawler categorize the reward as intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic rewards are the positive feeling that the individual experiences from completing the task. Mind you, my dear students, think about your own life. There might have been a lot of situations where you internally felt very satisfied. You thought, okay, I have achieved something. So that is your intrinsic reward. And I think this is how probably Porter and Lawler have categorized reward, based on satisfaction and a sense of achievement. If you have done something interesting, if you have done something noteworthy, so that will be something intrinsic. Extrinsic rewards are rewards which are generating from outside. The individuals such as maybe bonus, commission, and obviously a salary increase. So these are called extrinsic reward. Now Porter and Lawler model suggested that an individual's view regarding the attractiveness and fairness of the reward will affect motivation. So how much importance an individual employee is giving to the reward will actually help him or her to be motivated in the industry. So as a would-be entrepreneur, my dear students, it is very important for us to remember that what exactly is the mindset of our employees, our team members, and accordingly the reward should be put before them, whether they are internally motivated more or whether they are looking for some kind of a external or extrinsic reward. So extrinsic reward will work for people who are actually looking for it. Now how will be your organization culture? You are planning to start a business someday on your own. What exactly will be the organization culture? So let's look at the next area of the discussion, that is the concept of organization culture. So when we talk about organizational culture, we say a system of shared meaning which is held by members that distinguish the organization from other organizations. So it is something very, very special. It is something which is very, very unique to your organization. And I think this will be somehow percolated down among all your employees. So when we talk about organizational culture, there is a term what we know is called dominant culture. What is dominant culture? It expresses the core values that are shared by majority of the organization's member. So when we talk about a dominant culture, we also know something which is called a subculture. Mini culture within an organization. This is typically defined by department designation and geographical separation. So within the broad organization, entire organization often will encounter this, which is called a subculture, which is often treated as some kind of a mini culture. So when we talk about this organizational culture, what exactly are the characteristics? There are a lot of organizations which we can say these are innovative type and more on the side of taking risk. So the first characteristics of organization culture is about innovation and risk taking. You'll also come across certain organizations who are very meticulous and particular. So we can call them some kind of attention to detail. So every job needs to be done and proper attention to be given. So second characteristics of organization culture is attention to detail. The third one, we say they are more outcome oriented. What do we mean by this? The degree to which management focuses on results or outcome rather than the process and techniques used to achieve those outcomes. For those people who believe in outcome orientation, they give importance to the end result. They are not that bothered about what exactly has been the process or maybe what are the techniques that are used to achieve those results or outcome. Then another organization nowadays we talk about people organization or maybe some kind of a people orientation. Lot of importance, importance is given to people, the employees of the organization. There is another kind of organization culture which we call team orientation. The degree to which activities are organized around teams rather than individuals. So if you are part of this organization or someday you plan to start an organization, try and see which type of organizational culture you want to induct in your business or maybe in your organization. Team orientation, try and reward the team. They don't try and talk about individual brilliance. So that is another important aspect of characteristics of organization culture. And obviously, there are a lot of organizations who consider them to be aggressive. That is their culture. They are not scared or afraid of taking maybe risk. They're always in the process of maybe being aggressive. So when it comes to environments and maybe competition everywhere, we see those. Last but not the least, we hear some organization who will give importance to stability, maintaining the status quo in contrast to growth or new things. So they give more importance to the existing thing. So when we talk about organization culture, how are your employees going to learn your organization culture? And I think the most important thing is from the founder philosophy, as well as we hear and learn about organization culture from stories. If you talk about Nike, there has been a number of senior executives who spend much of their time as corporate storyteller. We all know, founded on January 25, 1964. And the name was initially Blue Ribbon Sports. And there were two people, Bill and Phil Knight, and officially became Nike on May 30, 1971. And so this is what we are talking about. In many organizations, you will see the founder stories, or maybe there are corporate storytellers just now as we talked about. So based on this, every organization is having some kind of a value. Now, what exactly is the concept of value? So it represents basic conviction. About what, my dear student? A specific mode of conduct or end state of existence is personally or socially preferable to an opposite or converse mode of conduct or end state of existence. So when we talk about values, I think the basic concept is they carry an individual's idea as to what is right, what is good, or what is desirable. So I repeat once again, they are carrying an individual's idea as to what is right, what is good, or what is desirable. A significance of these values, what exactly you are going to inculcate among your employees, comes from where? A significance of these values we hold is established in our early years, from our parents, from our teachers, from our friends and the society. So it refers to basic conviction which leads to formation of conduct or social preferences. Mind you, my dear students, values are a combination of different attitude and attributes of an individual. So when we talk about the concept of entrepreneurship, motivation is very important. We talk about what exactly will be the organization culture, and we also spoke about what sort of a value system you are going to inculcate and try and practice in your organization. So with this, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you, my dear students, for being with me.